This is the Friday Night Fever Afterburn, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Friday Night Fever Afterburn, week 5 of the season. After 1 week off, we are back.
Feels so good to be back.
I'm excited to be back. For everybody wondering, Spencer is alive and well. He was just fine last week. He was out. We're all good. We're back. We're better than ever. We had a lot of fun games tonight.
Yeah.
Back for Afterburn. I know I'm excited. I hope the rest of you are excited because we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to start with those scores. Tell us about the first 4 that we got here.
Move that out of the way.
Maybe if I can see it.
All right, we're going to start with the game I went to, Port St. Joe and Rutherford. Close one. Port St. Joe pulls off the win 16-14. Your double overtime thriller with the Walton County rivalry, 34-31. That's the final. Walton with the winning field goal. Then we have Bay and Chipley, another close one. Chipley gets that at home, 29-21, and then what is it? Another close one.
Score game.
28-20. North Bay Haven on the road beating Cottondale.
Then we got Bozeman, not a close one, rolling over Weewaw. They improved to 4-0. That is the first time in school history that they are 4-0. Congrats to the Bucks. Vernon, their second win of the season now. Coach Tillman and the gang. That's did they get one last? No, that's 2 more than they had last year. So yeah, Vernon, 2 wins this season. Congrats to those guys. 22-19 over Freeport. Fort Walton Beach, they cruise past Arnold. Arnold still yet to find a win this season. Same story for Graceville as they fall 33-0 at home to Acilla Christian.
And then we have Rocky Bayou Christian visiting Franklin County. That's a 10-point game, 26-16. Sneed's on the road visiting Miller County up in Georgia. Not looking too hot for the Pirates. They fall for the second straight week, 14-13. Bluntstown last night playing. They were on the road facing Taylor County. The final from that one is 16-6. And then the game you went to last night over at Tommy Oliver Stadium.
A lot of rain.
Game. Yeah.
A lot of rain.
40
Kickoff wasn't until 8:30.
45-21. That's the final in the War Eagles' favor.
Right, and that is a lot of good football for this week. We've got a lot to talk about. How about we start with the game of the week? It was a fun one over in Santa Rosa Beach. It's been a while since I've been able to go to a game outside of Bay County, and boy, did I have fun tonight. It's going to be the Seahawks who look to be, the team that kind of sets their foot forward to start, clearly not shown by that play. But as we head to the end of the first quarter, that's when South Walton just really starts clicking. They got the crowd behind them, the momentum. Carson Hawk is hitting his receivers. They're going to score first. They're going to go up 7-0. And then, of course, Walton will respond. Not long later, it's tied at 7-7. And then South Walton pulls to a 14-7 lead. It was a fun one there at the half. I had people tell me, oh, you gotta leave. Yeah, I gotta leave. This
always
one
the
goes
worst.
to double overtime.
Crazy.
Overtime. Walton goes and scores a lot of unanswered points. Double overtime, and Maston Joyner walk-off field goal for the Walton Braves. Walton is gonna win this one 34-31. I had to check my final score, but a big play that we talked about, and it was our play of the week. We just had it roll through. Ethan Shaw of South Walton. For anybody who doesn't know who Ethan Shaw is, go ahead and do yourself a favor. Go to mypanhandle.com. Shameless plug. I don't care. I don't. Go to mypanhandle.com. Look up South Walton football player Ethan Shaw. You'll be able to find it. It's a story on him from 2 years ago. He's a freshman in high school at the time, now a junior. He was born with one hand, and he got an interception tonight, the first one of his career. I know he was excited. His teammates were excited. It was a fun time for them. I know right now they're not really thinking about that because Walton got the big win, but that is a big play for Ethan Shaw. Congratulations on your first career interception. But Walton, it's all about you tonight. It is a 34-31 walk-off victory. They now have won 2 years in a row. So now over the last 10 years, it was 5-5. Now it's 6-5 in Walton's favor. I know they really wanted that one, and this was a gritty game of the week. What do you think from this final score?
Well, I think another added pressure to this game. I mean, on top of it just being a huge rivalry game for these two teams, the quarterback at Walton, obviously Wells Bettenhausen transferred over from South Walton, was the backup QB, kind of used him and Carson Hawk interchangeably for some games last season, but I knew that was a big deal. I remember when I realized he was on that roster that I was like, wow, that's going to be an extra added pressure for that game. And I mean, last year it was kind of very weighted on Walton's side, this matchup. And so it's always fun to see it just a back and forth battle like that. And I think for these teams, it doesn't necessarily matter the final score at the end of the game. And we love to see games like this. I mean, double overtime, the tensions are high. I said it on the show. I wish I was there. I wish I could have been there at the end of that game experiencing what it felt like, because I know everyone was probably standing up, going crazy. And Walton looks good. I know when they start getting into districts, it gets a little tougher for them. But, I mean, a couple back-to-back overtime wins, double overtime wins. So, I mean, they're bringing it when it matters.
Let me tell you, it was a great atmosphere. When I say standing room only, I literally mean standing room only. It was shoulder to shoulder in the stands on both sides. You had people wrapped around the end zone. You had people standing, looking to find a view of the game. And it lived up to the hype. It really was probably one of our, if not, maybe the best game that we've had all season. Like, top to bottom, best game we've had all season. We'd love to, maybe get that walk-off field goal footage from somebody later this week. We'll be able to show that. But just a huge win for the Walton Braves. They are now 4-0. That's a fun one. Like you said, Wells Bettenhausen, getting revenge against his old team. He was really shaky in the first half, and I think South Walton had him on his heels.
They knew.
And he was kind of reeling back. He was nervous. There was a couple plays. There was one where, he spiked the ball on 4th down, and South Walton, was letting him hear it. He got revenge, and, I'm sure those Walton guys wanted to fight for him.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a Walton versus South Walton rivalry. Any one player does not determine that rivalry. It's a big one every year. And, Walton, now they've got it 2 years in a row.
Maybe the good luck charm is you going to, actually no, because you went to a game a week earlier this year and it wasn't.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
But when I used to go to all the out-of-county games, they ended up being pretty good.
Okay,
as far as my memory goes.
We'll keep
Probably
you in
wrong,
Bay County.
I'll probably be back in Bay County. Whoa. Yeah. Walton, they get the big win tonight, 34-31 in double overtime. We're going to head to your game, Tommy Oliver Stadium, Rutherford, first time at home.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that one?
Yeah, first time at home with Coach Floyd. I know they were pumped up for that one. Pretty good amount of fans on both sides of the stands. It was slow to start. The first quarter, not really a lot of action. The biggest issue for Rutherford is they'd get the ball in their hands, 2 fumbles in the first half, a lot of punting back and forth with these two teams at safety. I mean, it was just kind of never ending for Rutherford on the offensive side of the ball. But again, it's not like Port St. Joe. They were able to score, obviously, a touchdown and a safety in the first half, but nothing crazy. Their first drive from Port St. Joe, I think, was about a 6-minute drive. So it was a lot of small yardage runs that just kept moving the chains throughout the first half. And I was wondering if we were going to see any scores. But we finally did in the second quarter. And, I mean, Rutherford looks tough. Their defense looks really strong. Offensively, there are a lot of things that need to be tweaked and fixed. I mean, just being able to hold on to the ball is one of the biggest things. This is a heartbreaking play, pops out right in front of the end zone as Port St. Joe was just about to score. But great play for Rutherford recovering that ball. And I don't know if you saw it, Chance Gaynor threw that one. So ran off with it, threw it. He does it all. He does it all. He was down on the sideline for a little bit after that play, but he got back up, ran to the other side. So he seems to be okay. I think just got the wind knocked out of him. But I mean, it was a slower game compared to your game, but it's a good matchup. Good to see both these teams.
And a big win for Port St. Joe. Yeah. They got a tough one next week with Bluntstown. But Rutherford, I know they got to feel gutted after this ball game. They've had a lot of close games this year. Mariana was a rough one the week prior, but they've had some tough ones. They've had a tough schedule. Very tough schedule. Whenever you face a Mosley, an undefeated Mariana, obviously an annual power at the 1A, 1R level in Port St. Joe. They've got a tough schedule this year. We hope that they can notch that first win. I'm sure, they'll have some more chances. But I've seen a lot of growth from Rutherford from the year prior. Yes. Might not see it in the record, but I have seen a lot of growth in them. I hope that they can.
And I mean, big plays like that on the offense, but just just poor mistakes. There was a lot of penalties in this game that hurt both sides, but, giving up the ball so many times, it's going to hurt you. Can't win if you give up the ball constantly.
Right. Well, we are going to check in on a couple comments, and then we are going to introduce a guest here at the station. But I see Coach Olds in here. A lot of great football tonight. That is certainly right. We got to go Bucks. Yeah. They are undefeated for the first time in school history through 4 weeks. So we have the walk-off video. I see Spencer has already responded. News at WMBB. Yes, we will take that. We will get it on the air this week.
We would love it.
I promise you, we will get it on the air, the walk-off. We want to get that on there. But yes, we have a lot more football to talk about. But the next game we're going to go to is going to be the game that Courtney was at tonight. Courtney Evans is going to join us. And Spencer, now we got the 3 for the first time this season. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you, Sam.
Afterburn. She's a big fan. She's been shooting last season and this season. So now, tell us about the game that you had going on. We had a Vernon and Freeport ball game. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so this was the second week in a row that I've been out to Vernon to see what they're doing. And last week, I even talked to Kaleigh about this, and I said Vernon was right there. They were itching for something. They just were getting swarmed by the Tigers last week. And this week, they got it going a little bit more. They were struggling a bit. Freeport was able to get some big runs right up the middle, as you see right there, for some touchdowns. They would go into the half with a 19-6 lead over Vernon, but Vernon wasn't going to slow down. This was probably the best highlight of the night. I almost got taken out right at the sidelines, but I was determined to make sure I followed that catch all the way through. And then, Scott just doing it all back at the running back position. He's throwing it. He's running the ball, and then the defense stepped up big, forced a big interception. They also had some really good pass coverage, and ultimately, there's one part of that was not in their favor, that interception. But they looked better this week, and I know I've been talking to Kaleigh about it, and I've heard you say it too. There's potential with that Vernon team, and what you said, this was their second win of the season, which is 2 more than last year. So
they had 1 win last.
Did they get 1 last year?
1-9 last season. So 1 more. We're doing better than last season.
An improvement is an improvement. So it was an exciting game to watch, and I wasn't surprised when I saw that they battled back to pull away a 22-19 final in that one, just given the heart that they finished out that first half with, and that fan base there, they never stopped cheering for them. It's always let's hear it for our Yellow Jackets, and it was just a great atmosphere out at that game tonight.
Right, Vernon, they're not far removed. Recent history, there's been some struggles, obviously, but they're not far removed from being one of the better teams in the Panhandle. There was, about 3 years in a row that there were 8 wins. They were going to the region finals, a Final Four type team. But, Vernon right now, Coach Tillman getting those guys, amped up, getting them ready to fight. I know that they want to have that pride back in Washington County because Chipley's controlled it over the last couple years. I know Chipley got them already, but this certainly is a different-looking bunch in Vernon, and I know Freeport's got to be hating this one after,
I was just about to say, but don't
week.
Count Freeport out. They still had themselves a good game tonight. They just couldn't get it done all the way through.
Yeah, I know they had an impressive one Freeport did last week, so I know they had some momentum rolling into this game, and we saw it in the first half for a lot of it, and then just kind of it slips in the second that happens. And I've only seen Vernon in the preseason. They played Arnold and Bozeman, but they looked pretty good in those. It was just, there was excitement back in this program, and I love to see it from these players. They're buying in, they're excited, and I mean, look at it, it pays off on the field in a 3-point win. So I know they're pumped for that one, getting that one at home.
Right. And this game, we see 2 teams that are kind of, haven't had the best start so far.
Yeah.
But this game, a lot of teams make the playoffs in Class 1R. Mm-hmm. This game will come back to haunt Freeport. This one will be one that matters when it comes time to select those playoff positions. But certainly, like we see, we have a lot of orange and blue teams around here. Cottondale, Freeport, all these schools playing against each other. But Vernon, a big win tonight for them. And for anybody wondering why Kaleigh or why Courtney is joining us, that is because I'm quitting. I won't be here next week. I'm done. I'm just kidding. But I will be out of town next week. My best friend is getting married. I'm going to give a shout out to Luke, but I will not be here next week. And Faith. Luke and Faith. Love you, Faith. But yes, it'll be Courtney and Kaleigh next week on Fever, on Afterburn, and they will be the duo together. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So and for those of you at home who haven't seen my face, don't worry. I follow high school football. I'll know a good gist of it. I'm not just being thrown into fire here.
Right.
And if not, she lives with me and she has to hear it all the time. And
Oh,
consequences
she'll hear
will come my way.
I'll be watching next week, see what happens. But yes, thank you for joining us
Thanks for
tonight,
having
and
me.
we'll see you next week. We're going to get into the rest of those games. We had a big one up in Washington County. Another team, that is the Chipley Tigers, with a big win over the Bay Tornadoes, 29-21. Bay took the lead in the first half. What did you see from the Tigers
Fun
here?
one. I think this was a really fun matchup between these two teams. Obviously, we've talked about it many times. Bay is younger this year, maybe not necessarily younger on the roster, but such a large senior class last year, less experience for these players. Chipley also lost a lot of seniors last year. But going back and just looking at the score, keeping updated with it on ScoreStream, it was very back and forth watching it. And I just think this was a really good matchup that I think we had an idea that it was going to be a good matchup. But it even surprised me a little bit of how close and how good of a game it was to see these two really battle it out. And I know Chipley's, they want to win like this. Coming off the one versus Vernon last week, back at home this week after 2 weeks on the road, maybe more weeks on the road than that. But I know they've been on the road for the past 2 weeks here in the Panhandle. So I know they're excited to be back home. I know they have a big following for those Tigers. So it's exciting for them. I think, this Bay team also, they're still working. They had that big win over Pensacola last week, but they're building and they put up a big fight.
Right. And of course, this is a class 4A versus 1A or 2S versus 1R. And, Bay's the largest school, but they're very, 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 very young this year. Most of their starting roster is underclassmen with the exception of a few seniors. But there's a lot of talent there, a bright future there. But same thing for the Tigers. They got a lot of athletes out there and a lot of ones coming up and moving. Yes, we got a proud of those Tigers. I see that is Coach Buchanan's wife. And a big win for those Tigers tonight. I'm sure they loved bouncing back from the Holmes County match a couple weeks ago. I'm sure they don't want to even hear the name Holmes County the rest of the season, Blue Devils or anything. It's nightmares all over the place. But Tigers a big win tonight. They win 29-21 over the Bay Tornadoes.
And Chipley started off the night with a ring ceremony for baseball.
That's right.
A great start
Thanks
and a great finish. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have that this weekend.
We will have that this weekend. You'll see a close-up of the rings. You'll hear from Coach Compton. We'll give you all of it.
Shameless plug. Watch this weekend. We're going to check in on North Bay Haven and Cottondale. Another one-possession game. This one was all Hornets until it was all Buccaneers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the hard thing for Cottondale is knowing that the first week I was at the Sneads-Cottondale game, and it was a very competitive back-and-forth battle between these two teams, and then in the second half, Sneads ran away with it, and Cottondale just couldn't make anything happen. Well, this one wasn't as close in the first half between these two, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like they're just running out of gas in the second half. I mean, obviously, we talk about it all the time. These kids play multiple positions. They play both sides of the ball. A lot of them don't even get to stand on the sideline for any time. I mean, these kids, special teams, offense, defense. So it makes sense that these teams are running out of gas, but it's just heartbreaking to see for Cottondale, be able to put up a big lead and fall to the Bucks. And then on the opposite side, you see the Bucks, struggling to kind of find that momentum. We know they have a ton of weapons on the offense. No need to even list them off. We know who they are. One right there. One just threw it to him. But I mean, and that was awesome for the Bucks to be able to reassess at halftime, come back out in the second half, score, win this game on the road. I know they wanted to win this one, go above 500. So I know North Bay Haven's very excited about this win, and it's good to see, their offense connect. I know Coach Canals is working on that, his offensive scheme. So they made it connect in the second half. So I know that's a big win for them.
All those Buccaneer weapons. Who are the Buccaneers' weapons?
Lakota Johnson, Willie Holly, Quante Smith. I mean, let me go on and on and on. Come on. I was saving people.
Just checking.
I know him.
Yes. Big win tonight for the Buccaneers. They certainly needed this one, as did Cottondale. So Cottondale now, a couple of they're kind of stacking up those losses. We saw them have a very strong season last year, going to the playoffs. Those losses are starting to stack up. I'm sure they'll be able to figure things out. I'm sure they'll be right in the mix when it comes time for the playoffs. But the Buccaneers keeping things interesting. Move back above 500. Is that 3-2 now for North Bay Haven?
Yeah.
Back above 500. So after a tough 2 weeks. They started off 1-0, fell twice, and now 2 wins again. So,
And it's a big one next week. Thursday night matchup.
That's
with
right.
Bay.
Bay Tornadoes.
And I know that's one that they've been circling on that calendar. So
Yes, I think they feel like this is their year, with a young Bay High. This is their year that maybe they could pull off that, that to flip the script a little bit and North Bay Haven get that first win over there. But before we get into our next games, I'm going to go back into the comments. I know we got some more people down here, some North Bay Haven fans cheering on their Buccaneers. I guess I'm talking about the schools on the west end, like Choctaw, Crestview, Niceville. Yes, those are technically not in our coverage range, unfortunately, because there's a lot of good schools over there.
Yeah.
Our Walton County is our limit. So it's South Walton, Freeport, and Walton is kind of our line that we draw. We'll cover.
we go about an hour and a half each direction.
Right. So we'll go Walton to Franklin County, up to Jackson County, and around. That's kind of our radius. But it's a shame that those schools are kind of stuck between us and Pensacola, and they don't get really the coverage that they deserve.
Yeah.
There is some great riders over there. Seth Stringer, he does a great job over there in the area and covering those teams. I know he was at one of the games tonight and giving them some coverage. But yeah, those schools over there in the Okaloosa area, they don't get as much coverage as they deserve, honestly. But there is a lot of good teams, and our teams do match up against them. So when they come to town, we try to.
Sometimes we'll sneak over there.
We do sneak over there every once in a while. Get over to a Niceville Mosley game every once in a while.
Yeah.
But
It's fun.
got more praise for those Chipley Tigers, and of course some more praise for the Braves. Some more praise for the Braves. The Walton Braves.
Rhyming is
big
hard.
double overtime win tonight. We're going to go to Bozeman now, and like I mentioned, this was a historic win for Bozeman.
Yeah.
4-0 for the first time ever. They've done 3-0 once. That was back in 2012. I remember that bunch. They were very, very, very talented with Division I players on their team. This bunch now 4-0.
Isn't that
and they did it
crazy?
against-
Just that school history, 4-0 for the first time.
Right. And of course, a Bozeman and an Arnold and a North Bay Haven, their school history looks a lot different than a Bay or a Mosley or a Rutherford that have been around much longer. But in school history, it is their first 4-0 start. But yeah, Peyton Gay in that bunch. What did you see from them tonight?
I mean, I think coming into this, we expected them to they're rested off a bye week. They have a strong offense this year. Weewa is one of those teams still trying to figure it out. They're a team that is hurt by numbers. And yes, these are both 1R teams, but Weewa is one that is on the smaller side. So I know that's another big issue for the Gators. But I mean, yeah, Bozeman looks good. This is exactly what they wanted, was a statement like this. We know that soon their schedule is going to get a little bit tougher. They're going to start seeing some of these tougher opponents in their classification. So I know a statement win like this was important for them. And like I said already, it's exciting. 4-0, first time in school history. I mean, let's do it.
Right, and Peyton Gay, coming off that injury last season, a senior year, he's getting the offense rolling. Going into the bye week, he led all of Class 1R in passing and total yards. I believe in scoring in Class 1R heading into the bye week. Things might be changed a little bit now.
Yeah.
Also, Trevor Oswald going into the bye led
Tough
the
kid.
state Class 1R in tackles. So, they've got a lot of talent over there. I'm hearing Chance Jenkins tonight. Former Arnold player, was over at Arnold last year, now with Bozeman. One of the best athletes in the panel. You see him there. He was just dominating tonight. I was hearing people tell me that, he genuinely looked like he was the best player on the field at all times tonight.
That's awesome.
And I'm sure, Bozeman's going to enjoy this one because their schedule's going to start getting tougher. Later in the schedule, we got Chipley, Port St. Joe, and Holmes County towards the end. But right now, they're rolling. They got a couple more games. I think they got Destin in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be a pretty tough one as well. And I think there's one more in between now and then. But, Bozeman, 4-0 for the first time in school history. There's a lot of weapons over there. They are enjoying that 4-0 start.
Celebrate it while you can.
Congratulations. And shout out to that 2012 Bozeman team. Very, very good. I mean, Jacob Martinez, he went to Buffalo. Chandler Burkett went and played at Maryland. I remember those guys. I was a little middle schooler watching them. I was like, wow, these guys are incredible. Very, very good team. But, hey, first time in school history. This is history. So congratulations to those
Their
Bucks.
schedule real quick. Freeport next week, then Destin, Port St. Joe, Chipley, Holmes County, and Rutherford.
Okay. So There is a chance to continue to move that. There's a chance. And
always.
really, I mean, they certainly, from the way that things look, this is a team that I like their matchup against anybody so far this year. Holmes County looks really good. Chipley, of course, always good. But right now, I mean, is there really a team that I'm like, I don't think Bozeman can beat this year? I don't think so. But, of course, saying it is a lot easier than doing it.
Yeah.
So we'll have
we
to
never
wait
know
and
what
see.
can happen.
But congratulations, Coach Griffin and the gang over there, 4-0. You're the only undefeated team left in Bay County, too. So
Crazy.
keeping things
Only a
interesting.
couple undefeated teams left, too.
Right. So
Just a few.
we've already done Vernon and Freeport. Is that all the highlights that
Besides
we got?
Thursday night.
We do got Mosley's game. For you Mosley fans that are hanging out with us tonight, it was a tough one.
Late
it was
night last night.
A very late night. Kickoff was not until 8:30 p.m. I was sitting there watching the rain for 2 hours after the 6 o'clock show until
Sam
this one
Granville
started.
loves the rain.
I love the rain. The rain loves me. I was wearing the boots. Coach Whitten was making remarks on my boots, and everybody loved my boots last night.
Boots
but
that he found.
I found the boots over there at the garage. I walked right out the door with them. It was a great time. But Sammy Freitas looked awesome to start the game last night. I mean, he was pumped up. He had that crew just working like a well-oiled machine. He had 2 like 50-yard scampers in the first half, one of them for a score. He had them moving, but this quarterback over here, I believe it's Hayden Cleese for Wakulla. He's so good, and he's got a lot of weapons over there. I know that Wakulla had a lot of transfers coming in this year. Number 7 on their team, not Sammy Freitas, but number 7 on Wakulla's team. He was apparently a Georgia Tech commit, so they got a lot of talent, a lot of Division I, a lot of college talent. The kid that was lined up against Raiden Bruins on Wakulla's offensive line, that might be the largest high school I've ever seen in my life. He is a big kid with red hair. He looks mean. He's scary, and it was a tough matchup with Raiden Bruins. But yes, Mosley went up 14-0. And then Wakulla, they just let them have it. I left. That's right. I think it was 21-14 at the half, something like that. I'm totally wrong on the
28-21.
28-21 at the half. So Wakulla went. There's the big guy right there.
There he is.
There's my big redhead. I love that guy. But
Big redhead.
Mosley Falls last night. It was a tough one. They now have lost back-to-back games, so they are now 3-2. It's a tough loss, and those War Eagles, they are very good. Taking a look at the scores that we had, again, Bluntstown picking up a win 16-6 over Taylor County last night. And then again, Rocky Bayou beats Franklin County 26-16, and Sneed's now losing 2 in a row. Holmes County and Miller County. Sneed's didn't have any losses in the regular season last year, so definitely a tough stretch for them. Well, before we go, Spencer's reading my mind. Getting into those games for next week. A big one on Thursday, Bay and North Bay Haven. That'll be a fun one. I think if there's a year that North Bay Haven can come in and make some noise and make things interesting. It's a very tough Bay team, but maybe they can hang around with that big group.
They won it this year, too.
There's a chance. But Thursday night, that'll be a fun one. We got Weewa and Cottondale both desperate for some wins right now. Scylla Christian and Franklin, we saw Scylla really handed it to Graceville. It's going to be a tough match for Franklin. I don't think Scylla's lost a game this year. I think they're now 5-0. Mariana, they're coming back. We're going to talk about Mariana real quick.
Let's do it.
We're going to talk about Mariana because we didn't get to talk about them last week. We did not have our afterburn last week. Mariana is undefeated. They are 4-0 for the first time since 2016, I believe we said. And Amari Clemens.
Clemens.
If you did not see Amari Clemens' story from this week, do yourself a favor.
Go look at it. Go look at it.
Incredible kid. Incredible kid. He is leading the state in scoring.
Amazing
He might
story.
still be leading the state in scoring after this week with bye week. We'll have to check the stats and see what's happening. There's a chance. There really is a chance.
18 touchdowns.
18 touchdowns in 4 games. He's a sophomore. He's incredible. I know you enjoyed your time up there hanging out with him this
so
week.
much fun. Such a good kid. Such a special story. One of those stories where you just see him turn his life around and use that talent, and it's just paying off. He just has this platform now, and it's just so exciting to see the success. He's the first one on the field, the last one to leave. He goes back to the practice field on a Friday night after the game, and he deserves it. I mean, he deserves this recognition. He deserves the success, and he, like you said, he's just a sophomore. So we're really excited for him.
That is their district opener against Godby, so they go to Tallahassee. That'll be a tough one for them. Sneed's is going to Liberty County. That'll be Another, kind of a I wouldn't say must win. There's no games at this stage
Yeah.
in the year. There may be must wins, but Sneads really feels like it's must win, and I'm sure Liberty County does as well. So both teams are kind of desperate for a win. Port St. Joe and Bluntstown. That is definitely an interesting one.
I went to this matchup 3 times last year.
Yeah.
It was a great one every time.
There's obviously, both teams, graduated a lot of talent, but there's still some very, very, very good ball players,
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting one.
And it's a great
Possibly
rivalry,
game of the
too.
week. We'll see.
Maybe we'll have a vote. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this week plays out. But of course, 4-0 Bozeman now against Freeport, who is 1-4, I believe now, or 1-3, depending on if they've had a bye week. I don't think they have. I think they're 1-4 now. So Bozeman against a 1-4 Freeport. I know they're going to want to keep rolling. Freeport really needs a win to hang around in the playoff race.
1-4.
Yeah, 1-4.
One win over Cottondale.
No. Yes, that's right. A tough one last week. Holmes County, they got Vernon. They're coming off their bye week.
Yeah, that's
Holmes
homecoming for Holmes County.
Right. And Vernon looking strong, but Holmes County, another team that we probably should talk about just a little bit. Go watch their story. We did it on Thursday. It's a crew that went into their bye week. They were incredible. Good
Another
crew
great
over
senior
there.
class.
Yes, they beat Chipley and Sneads in back-to-back weeks. Shout out to those Blue Devils. Go watch their story this week. The whole squad, they were really hyped up.
Yeah.
Mosley, they've now lost 2 in a row. They were desperate for a win. They got Childs at home. We got South Walton with a loss tonight hosting Rutherford. That's a district battle, a very strong one.
Yeah.
We got Walton going to West Florida. That also a district battle. So a lot of these teams getting into the
That's where
mix
it picks up
of
for
the
Walton
district
for
season.
sure.
Graceville at Houston County. Is that the last one that we got on there? That is the last one that we have.
And I think it's Chipley and Arnold is on a bye this next week. I think those are their 2 teams on a bye next week.
Okay. Yes, a couple teams on a bye week. Before we go, I see one more comment. How many tackles? Number 59 for the Braves have. I assume you probably saw my live shot and saw the 59. That was a little confusing. His number's not actually 59. That's how many tackles he had going into the game, which was only in 3 games. So he's averaging about 20 tackles per game. His number 44, Daniel Boatwright. We'll have to check those stats because I'm sure he had a lot. He had a lot while I was there. He's probably still, I would assume he's probably still leading the class at least in tackles. He was averaging like 19.7 per game, which the next highest in the state was like around 13 per game. So he's just been having himself a
He's hanging out at the top.
He's hanging out at the top, as there's a couple Braves up there as well. But we had a lot to talk about this week because we had the week off. So I appreciate
been bottled up.
bearing with us. I've been waiting to talk football. I know Kaleigh has as well. I will not be back next week, but Kaleigh will. So I'll be having a lot more to talk about in 2 weeks. But before we go, anything else that we didn't mention? That we got to get those highlights.
There's one comment in the Instagram asking about Destin, not a team we typically cover, asking if they won. They did win tonight 35-0 over Lighthouse Private Christian Academy.
Okay. So Destin having themselves a year. Destin Bozeman matchup in a couple weeks. Could be very interesting. Could be very interesting. If you want to see all the highlights from tonight, go to mypanhandle.com. Look under the sports tab. We have everything listed there. We'll have it posted shortly. We had a lot of good games this week. We had a lot of good games last week that if you missed those highlights, make sure to check those out as well. We'll be back next week with Kaleigh and Courtney. It'll be a lot of fun. I hope appreciate you guys for joining with us. I know it's a late night, but we'll see you soon.